Hello class. So today we're going to be talking about bonds and why bonds are important in chemistry and many different aspects of biology. So we're going to be listing the bonds from strongest to weakest. So without further ado, let's get started. The first bond we're going to be talking about are covalent bonds. Now a covalent bond is a chemical bond where electrons are shared between the atoms in a molecule. So this is the strongest out of the four major bonds we're going to be talking about today, and a good example of this that you use every single day, that all living things need to survive, is water. Water molecules have covalent bonds to keep them together, and without covalent bonds, water would not be a thing, and life on Earth as we know it could not exist. The next bond we're going to be talking about are ionic bonds. So an ionic bond is a chemical bond formed between two ions with separate charges, one with a positive charge and one with a negative charge. And these electrons are transferred between the molecules. So unlike covalent bonds, where the electrons are being shared between the two molecules, the electrons are being transferred from one molecule to another in ionic bonds. So that's the main difference between these two bonds. Covalents are shared, and ionic are transferred from one to another. And this is the second strongest bond we're going to be talking about. And a good example of this is sodium chloride or table salt, which I'm sure many of you use quite often. So the next bond we're going to be talking about is a very weak bond called a hydrogen bond. So a hydrogen bond is a weak bond between an electronegative atom and a hydrogen atom. This is the second weakest major bond that you guys are going to need to know, and this is extremely important in amino acid sequences which make up protein in human body. And proteins are used for various things such as DNA replication, and they're used all over the body for all sorts of tasks. So this is very important, and it would be very interesting how the body would have these proteins without hydrogen bonds, because hydrogen bonds are extremely important for proteins. Now, the last bond we're going to be talking about, which is extremely weak, are called van der Waals forces. Now, the technical definition is forces, but it is a type of bond. It's an extremely weak bond between two molecules where they are attracted to each other at moderate distances and repel each other at close distances. So if you've ever had two magnets, if you have them in one of your hands, each of your hands, and you put them close together, sometimes they attract and stick together, and sometimes if you're not close enough, they repel each other. So it slowly, as they get closer and closer together, they slowly want to push away, but once you get close enough, they'll stick to each other. That's an example of van der Waals forces. And this is not a chemical bond. It's considered an intermolecular force, and it is the weakest bond out of the four that have been discussed today. So I hope this presentation has helped you on understanding the importances and differences of the bonds and why they are needed in chemistry and biology. And I'll see you next time.